societal or familiar expectation in learning during COVID. As we know, we are now fighting against the COVID-19, and we have to adapt ourselves with new norms, and also as a student, we have to adapt ourselves with online learning. So online learning sometimes can be a pressure to us as a student. So before we start our program, I would like to introduce our speaker for today, Sister Masturah. Okay, her full name is Nur Masturah Muhammad Arif. She is a counselor from CCSC IIUM. She attained her Master in Education on Guidance and Counseling. She has served within 3 years in IIUM when she started to join in 2017. She involved mainly in crisis cases, guidance and training. And for now, she focuses on serving on the well-being of students in Mahallah under the residential counseling unit. So without further ado, I would like to welcome our honorable speakers today, Sister Masturah, to deliver a talk entitled The Anxiety of Fulfilling Societal or Familiar Expectation in Learning During COVID. The floor is yours, silakan.
Okay, Masya Allah. Hai Aisyah, lama tak nampak.
Tak mas.
The the last time we met during the judging day for Mahallah inter Mahallah competition for therapeutic corner, right?
Yes.
Masih berada di Mahallah. Alhamdulillah,
Yes.
very committed.
Yes.
Okay, Alhamdulillah. I see. Even though this program organized by Mahallah Aminah, I can see a few brothers. Assalamualaikum. Thank you for joining this program. I believe that Mahallah Aminah, especially all of the committees, MRCs, the student as well as the principal and fellows are really working hard to ensure all the well-being of Mahallah resident, Mahallah Aminah resident, as well as those who within their capacity to help, insyaAllah. So malam ni my language campur-campur sikit so kita macam tajuk kita pun panjang dek Nun, panjang sangat. And also that it has a keyword there which is anxiety. So we want to have like a sharing session so that you can share your concern too. Saya tak nak lah our talk for tonight create more worries to you, kan? That will be defeat the purpose lah, kan? Nanti tiba-tiba lepas dengar talk malam ni makin spike up lah you punya anxiety. That is the thing that we don't want to happen, of course, right? So as introduction, I believe that we have 17 participants now, including myself. So if it's not a problem for you guys, boleh tak sharekan sekejap dekat chat box. I give like around 1 to 2 minutes ke, share dekat chat box tu any of your concern dulu involving this remote teaching and learning ataupun adapting with the new norm of teaching and learning. So saya nak tengok sikit apa sebenarnya your worries regarding this new norm in teaching and learning. Kalau boleh sharekan sikit dekat chat box tu, kita sama-sama boleh sharing sikit lah. Sharing is caring, kan? It's gonna be two-way because last week is also me, right? I did the sharing during in IG live. Ada banyak chat kat atas tu, kan? So kita tak sempat nak go through everything. So hopefully malam ni boleh ada siapa-siapa nak share ke dekat chat box anything that you really concerned about the new norm in teaching and learning. Tak apa je boleh. Saya bagi. Mungkin Aisyah nak start share dulu ke? Waalaikumsalam Hakim Zaidin and also waalaikumsalam untuk Mahallah Aminah. Siapa yang pegang akaun Mahallah Aminah ni? Okay, anyone want to share? Ke malu lagi? Malu. If you guys want to unmute your mic also boleh. Kita sama-sama santai-santai, insyaAllah. Okay, first respon daripada Sister Nur Fazliana Samsuri. Insufficient equipments, distracted with gadget, hard to understand what the lecturers teach. Betul? Insufficient equipments, gadget, kan? Ini pun kita akan touch later in my presentation. because I often when students come and seek consultation, in fact yesterday I am so honored to be invited to share the virtual platform with IIBF student postgraduate colloquium. The issues is almost the same. Managing student life during COVID-19. So for tonight, kita specific sikit anxiety. So I adjust here and there on my presentation. But yes, the issue of insufficient equipment, sometimes kita student kan go online using broken phone or broken laptop, and connectivity, very poor internet connection, whether in IIUM or at home, sometimes we struggle with that connectivity as well. And then distracted with gadget, yes. Lepas virtual classes, menghadap laptop, and after that, phone pula. Okay. And then hard to understand the lecturers teaching. Okay, this is some of the struggles. Ada yang lain tak nak share juga? Ke semua orang bagi wakil je dekat sister Fazliana ni? Tapau semua. Janganlah macam tu. Anyway, before I begin. Daripada Brother Amirul. Waalaikumsalam. Some of my lecturers simply read off slides through share screen, and my classmate and I have to read ourselves and understand ourselves. Okay. Ni struggle juga by the way, I'm also teaching basic counselling skill class. Basic skill for 1. So kalau siapa-siapa bercadang untuk ambil next semester, basic skill 1, mungkin saya adalah one of your trainers as well. Me too sometimes. Sebab bila kita share screen tu kan, kita nampak kejap lagi lah nanti saya nampak muka saya je. I cannot see you guys. But yeah, that is the struggle as well. Okay. From Sister Nurul Aini, for someone who is slow learner, it's hard to cope with online class. I need to keep rewatching the lectures video again and again. When the schedules are packed, times are killing me. How to manage it? What? Alright, ini kita interesting untuk kita discuss further ni. Alright. Thank you so much for the feedback, Nurul Aini. And then from Karimal, I feel I'm usually demotivated with constant anxiety to the extent I cannot focus in the classes. Yep, maybe sebab lama sangat menghadap laptop tak keluar rumah. Perhaps, tapi kita akan touch on that issues as well. And from Hakim, personally I have frequent headache and eye strain from too much using screen. Definitely, I have to sleep or rest after every class session. Also, it's very difficult to manage group projects. Many of my group members do not do work. The struggle is real. So, thank you so much for Mahallah Aminah to choose this. I think that it's a high time. It's very important and so relevant, this topic, to be discussed during this time. Because again, I spoke on this matter a lot recently. If as compared to the previous semester, kan kita ada emergency ERTL, and then we are pretty much in the shock period. We do not know what to do. Everyone, including the administrative, the lecturers, the students, in fact, we do not know how to respond properly to the situation. But now, when we are approaching the second part of the year, and also the second part of during this COVID-19 pandemic, students are more concerned about how to excel in their study, how to manage. The worries part about the pandemic, we slowly already accept the pandemic, but then now, apa kita nak buat untuk study kita? Because slowly we started to realize that there are some concern yang selama ni perasaan risau terhadap COVID tu overwhelm. Now slowly kita started to think about, how about my study? And then approaching sometimes bila the first part of the year, maybe you guys are still in your perhaps 4th year first semester. Now you already 4th year second semester. You're approaching graduation kan? Tu lain cerita lagi. So ataupun second, now you approaching to your internship years or internship semester. Lagi dia punya perasaan tu berganda-ganda. So insyaAllah we're going to touch on this matter. Tapi dalam session saya, I will read first or I will present first. If you guys have any question, boleh saja unmute, and try to cut me in the middle. Alright? So insyaAllah, bismillah. Let me share my screen. Okay. Alright, so can you see my slide? Boleh nampak tak?
Yes,
Yes.
I can see.
Okay. Okay. Now, our topic is very mouthful punya topic, the anxiety of fulfilling societal or familial expectation in learning during COVID-19. So what I can conclude from this beautiful topic is how to address your anxiety in terms of managing the expectation, kan? Expectation from the society as well as the from the family expectation. So you as a student, how should you balance between your personal expectation? I know that you guys also have expectation to yourself, and then society, because they expect that, oh, you guys are university students, you have da, and also your families must have a certain expectation. So we're going to discuss whether that expectations is actually good, or we can negotiate about the expectation, or how can we go about this issue. Okay, there ada dua keyword dekat sini. The first one is about the anxiety, and second one is managing the expectation during learning in the amidst of COVID-19. Okay, so I list down a bit. So saya just list downkan apa benda point-point that we're going to discuss just to assist our discussion later on. The first part I will discuss on expectation versus reality. As you know, sometimes expectation is like Mount Everest, but the reality, we have to deal with a lot of difficulties and challenges. Okay, and then how the new shift in teaching and learning impacted our life and study. This is very, very important. I will just discuss briefly of some of the main important aspect in our life that have been impacted by COVID-19. We're not talking about the virus, we're talking about the aftermath of the virus, how the virus or the situation is actually impacted our life and study. And then also, I would like to invite you guys and me myself to reassess our commitments, whether our commitments are trash or treasure. Okay, and then communication is the key. No need to shout. This is important. How can we convey our discussion or how to negotiate with our parents or lecturers, perhaps, to negotiate to the extent that we could reach a win-win situation between parents and us, or the lecturers and us, right? And finally, as a takeaway, I will discuss some of very simple activities for mindfulness to distract our thoughts during the overwhelming situation. Okay? Right. Okay, now, when we talk about expectation and reality, if you look at my slide, the expectation, teaching and learning during COVID-19. So people expect the stress is at the same level. Okay, because what? You are a student. So your job as a student, you study. Okay, so with pandemic or without pandemic, your job is to study. So people expect that the stress level is the same. Okay, because what you're doing, you are studying. So no matter pandemic or no pandemic, you are studying. So they expect that the stress level is the same. That's number one. And number two, people expect that we are doing just fine. Oh, what is the problem having virtual teaching and learning? It's very simple. You just have to stay in front of the laptop and listen to the lectures. And when the lectures end, that's it. Okay, so people expect us to be just fine. Number three, no adjustment needed. Okay, these are also a common expectation when you know you started or resume your teaching and learning. People often put this expectation that, oh, okay, if previously you can adapt with difficult teaching and learning, now you could or you should be able to adapt with the same teaching and learning, because the assessment is the same, the assignments are the same, so you should be able to adapt with it. So no adjustment needed. And finally, people sometimes perceive that physical learning and virtual learning is the same, because again, the concept of teaching and learning, teaching and studying. So if we look at it in a general way, in just a superficial form, practically we are doing the same action. The lecturers are doing the same action, which is teaching, and students do also doing the same action, which is studying. Okay, by definition, there's no difference, but that is what people expect. Now, when we talk about reality, okay, okay, so actually the new shift in teaching and learning forces us to, number one, reassess our objective in learning. Okay, this is very important. Sometimes the students, we have different objective why we want to score or why we want to pursue our study in the first place. Some of this or some of the student or some of the cases, they don't even want to pursue their study, but because the norm in Malaysia, you have to pursue your degree, so they force themselves to study. Now, when they have to deal with remote teaching and learning, that bring the challenge to another level. It will be more difficult to them. So not only to their cases, but also us in general, we need to take time to reassess our objective in learning. What do we really want to learn during the class? Okay, and then it forces us to find our creativity. This implies to the lecturers as well as the student. As for the lecturer, how to be creative in teaching, and also as a student, okay, now you know that you're not the person who really can listen attentively, because you might have several challenges, as what some of our sister, I forgot the name, I'm sorry, share in the chat box. Okay, she mentioned that she has a challenge in learning, okay, a bit in her words, a bit slow in understanding. So that is a part of the challenges in learning. So okay, so before this, during physical classes, it is okay because we can see and then we can discuss with our friends, so the input much easier to be comprehend. But now during virtual, we cannot have that. Okay, so it forces us to find our creativity. What is the best way or the best learning style for us? Okay, I also now you started to talk about learning style and personality. So how can we fit our personality with our learning style, because this is very important. Okay, tapi itu nanti kita kena, mungkin Mahallah Aminah kena jemput lain lah kan. Okay, alright. And also it forces not to work in silo. Okay, these students might have some challenges because again, free rider in group assignment. Okay, but really, we cannot do everything alone. In fact, during the virtual teaching and learning, actually, the more we divide the tasks among our peers, the more easier for us to complete the assignments rather than alone. Because at home, perhaps students who stay at home, perhaps they have another commitments to take care of their adik-adik, to take care of kucing, to take care of anything at the house. You know, you have additional responsibility. So the more we are able to what we call it, to delegate the task to our peers, that would be wonderful. Okay, and then also finally to establish therapeutic relationship among peers and lecturers. Now later I will touch on this therapeutic relationship or communication. What I mean by therapeutic relationship is that supposedly, ideally, the lecturers and you ideally should have a very understanding relationship. If you have challenges, your lecturers able to empathize on you, and you also do not have that high amount of fear to discuss with your lecturer. Supposedly, ideally, it's like that. If situations are not like that, then we need to discuss what can we do to improve the situation. Okay. Now, if you look at my picture here, is a dice, right? Here is just two-dimensional dice. This is what expectation is all about. It's just two-dimensional from my perspective, from A perspective, from B perspective. What I expect on you and what you expect on me is just two-dimensional. But here the reality is 3D, three-dimensionals. So when the reality, we started to look at, okay, whether this expectation is appropriate, or whether this expectation is too high or too low. If the expectation is too low, people will feel like, oh, perhaps I'm not bring any benefit because people don't expect anything from me. Okay, so we need to have a healthy level of expectation so that we could be motivated to proceed in whatever task that we were given. Okay, now, new shift in teaching and learning, okay, it impacted, I just highlight only these four aspects in our life and study, because I believe that this is very important. Okay, number one, it creates uncertainty. Okay, this is what we're going to discuss. Our topic also is about anxiety, right? So when this situation, the new shift in teaching and learning, it creates uncertainty. So you do not know what happened next. You do not know what will happen to your future. You do not know whether you can secure your place in internship, whether you can get a job after graduation, all of that. So it creates uncertainty. So when we feel that, we become more anxious about our future. We do not know where to go. Everything was just so clouded. So we need more guidance on that, right? Second part is financial. You know, a lot of people out there are affected with financial. A lot of parents being retrenched, recently retrenched, and also people, international students, sometimes their parents at home, their hometown, to the country that has been impacted by COVID-19 much worse than Malaysia. They lost their job, they lost their income, and they are now at a foreign country. So all of that contributes to stress, a lot of pressure on what's next and how to pay our outstanding tuition fees. So these issues create tension, create pressure. So it will also impact your focus in your study, because how could you focus if you worry about what to eat next, right? It is very big issue. I have a lot of clients about this matter. So it's very challenging. And then number three is about adjustment. Okay, adjusting to remote teaching and learning. Again, if previously we have a certain study routine, if previously we have a certain preferences in study, but now perhaps the routine is not relevant anymore. Perhaps that preferences is not relevant anymore. So you need to take time and reassess what are the resources that you have around you to support you in your study. Okay, and finally, this terminology is a very recent terminology. It started to be introduced in April, if I'm not mistaken, after we experienced a certain period of COVID-19, the terminology of touch starvation. Okay, so touch starvation is actually by the research, they said that the impact is the same as when we feel food starvation. When we feel hungry, but we cannot eat, so we feel the starvation, and then we feel weak, we feel angry, agitated, etc., etc. The same goes to touch starvation. Some people, their love language is by touching. They need to be very physical. In some cultures, they like hugging each other, they kiss each other at cheeks, you know, they need to like salam people. It's a must for them. And then when they feel low, they need hug. So it's a must for them. But during this pandemic, we cannot do that. So it can increase the risk of having stress, depression, anxiety, and triggering a cascade of negative physiological effect. It can increase the risk of having such and such. So it's very important. So if you feel that sometimes, you know, some people, kalau you rasa lah you antara that category kan, you always kalau jumpa kawan je mesti, hi, Assalamualaikum, cium sana sini. Now you cannot do that. And then you feel that your energy is pretty much low, you might experience what we call as touch starvation. So ini adalah perkara baru, terminologi yang baru, but it's a good thing that we acknowledge it so that we can find ways how to have a safe touch if possible. Kan, macam mana, we have to think about it, right? Because COVID, I think that we need to learn to live with COVID, so we need to be creative on how to find solutions, okay? Next, okay, I just put it here. Sebab kita cerita tentang anxiety, kita cerita tentang ketakutan, alright? So this word really hits me to the core bila saya tengah buat research untuk this presentation, alright? It says in the surah Al-Imran, salah ni typo Al-Imran, so do not lose hope nor be sad. You surely be victorious if you are true believers. So I'm not putting any judgment in here. No, I want you guys to focus on the first part of the verse, right? Do not lose hope. So when we talk about anxiety, we talk about emotional distress. The most important thing, you can ask any experts out there in psychology. The most important thing for you to keep fighting for yourself, for your well-being, is not to lose hope. When there is hope in you, you're feeling hopeful, so there is always way to move forward. So it is very important for us not to lose hope. At whatever juncture that you are now, I want you guys not to lose hope. There's always way to support you. There's always way that we can work this thing together, inshallah, and you are not alone. So I just want you to focus on the first part, which is not to lose hope. Okay. Boleh, I hope that it's not too heavy. Can I continue? Okay.
Yes,
Now,
yes.
thank you. So now I want you guys to join with me to visualize this. Okay. Tapi macam mana saya nak? Okay, I tutup dulu because I want to see you guys. I want to see your faces. Okay. Boleh now? Okay. Now, I want you guys to just listen to me without reading my slide. Okay. Right, try to visualize this scenario together with me. Aisyah pun boleh juga. Try to tutup mata ke, okay? Visualize sama-sama, alright? Okay, now listen to my voice and start to visualize. Okay, every student will graduate soon or a bit delayed, and they will get their grades. Okay, but have you imagined what will you be like after the graduation? Are you still healthy? Are you still okay? How many wounds do you have? How far your personal attributes have growth? And how many life lessons can you take? And finally, upon your graduation, how far can you contribute further? Take a moment to visualize this. Because mostly people visualize themselves naik atas pentas, receiving the scroll, tangkap gambar, pakai robes, and then habis. But I want to invite you to look beyond that so that we can find our motivation to pursue and continue our study during this difficult time. Because if you only visualize yourself receiving the scroll with the robe, kita pun tak nampak bayang bila lagi convocation physical tu akan berlaku. Betul? But if we adjust a little bit of our visualization to see beyond that, apakah yang akan berlaku pada kita dan siapakah kita selepas graduation kita. Okay. Dah, tak boleh lama-lama, nanti kan tidur. Tutup mata tidur. Alright? Because, okay, how you guys feel? Do you feel any, ada rasa terbayang-bayang tak? Mampu tak bayang? Ke dengan suara Kak Mas ni tak mampu nak bayang? Anyone want to unmute your mic before I continue my slide? Kita chat sikit.
Campur-campur.
Campur-campur. Brother Hakim cakap campur-campur. Ada perkara yang boleh bayangkan, ada perkara yang tak boleh bayang. Contoh ke?
Yes.
Alright,
Ada
good. Mm-mm.
both optimistic and pessimistic lah.
Okay. Okay, that's a very good response. Ada sister ke? Ada yang lain-lain? Nak bagi feedback sikit? Boleh dapat bayangkan diri you selepas ni? Tapi activity, I mean like if we are not familiar to imagine or visualize ourselves in near future, this activity will take some time. Okay, because it will force our brain to imagine the positivity in the near future. Sebab biasanya it's easy for us to imagine the negative thing. It's easy for us to imagine the worst case scenario. Okay, but if I were to ask you guys to imagine the most positive situation that might happen, it will take some time. So it's okay. It's okay if you feel a bit intimidated. So please know that it's normal because your body need to adjust. But I encourage you to practice more on visualization because Stephen Covey also mentioned that begin with the end in your mind. Okay, from the seven habit of successful people or effective people. I forgot the name of the book. Okay, so boleh saya sambung balik insyaAllah. Alright. Wait. Okay. Alright, now. Okay, why I want you guys to visualize because I often share an analogy which is we are all in a marathon. Okay, semua orang, you, I, semua masuk marathon ni. Okay, and then tak kisah kita dapat nombor berapa, sometimes people get number 1, the first to finish, and then the others mungkin lah dapat saguah hati je. But at the end of the day, at the end of the race or at the end of the marathon, semua orang akan sampai ke finishing line. Of course, semua akan sampai sebab nak tangkap gambar dekat finishing line. Right? But how about you, the one who do the marathon? Are you okay? Upon arriving at the finishing line, are you okay? Are you injured? How many injuries do you have? Can you walk properly after you arrive at the finishing line? That is the thing that we need to ask ourselves. Okay, kita sampai dekat finishing line, but what about it? How about ourselves? Have we asked about ourselves? Are we really okay? Have we take a moment to look at ourselves during the marathon? Ada tak kita ambil moment untuk kita tanya, okay tak? Tadi terjatuh tak? Ada luka tak? Haus tak? Perlu ambil air tak? Have we really being mindful to our own body and ourselves? Alright? So this is just a bit selingan sikit. Alright? So this is very important as a human being, not only a student. In fact, me as a working adult also is very important to have my big why. Because now when we talk about managing expectation as well as managing our anxiety, number one part of it is we need to be certain of our own goal. Sebab kadang-kadang, okay, now I'm talking about the general situation, not people with diagnosis already, okay? That's two parts. Some people, they begin their journey with a diagnosis, already diagnosed with perhaps social anxiety, general anxiety, or any mental health difficulties or challenges. They have that diagnosis. Another group, no, they don't have the diagnosis, but the COVID-19 triggers their anxiety. Okay, now there are two groups. Okay, and these two groups, they are all students. They need to deal with academic pressure. Now, some students, they already know what they want to achieve. They are very clear. Now, what you need to do is to draft your way going down. This is to minimize our worries about our future. Ini apa yang saya selalu panggil sebagai the risk control. Okay, hidup kita ni adalah memang berisiko. Anything. If we make a decision whether A or B, we're taking a risk. We continue our study, we're taking a risk. So everything in our life is risk. Tapi apa yang penting untuk kita adalah how we manage the risk supaya kita boleh manage anxiety kita. Right? So if you are the first group which is able to be very objective with what you want to achieve, I encourage you untuk start to draft how to go down. Apa yang you kena fulfill. Contoh, this semester you target Dean list. You're very clear that you want to achieve Dean list. Now, but then you have a certain challenges. Lecturer you macam ni ke, group mate you macam ni ke. So if you go down, ini contoh-contoh je tau, not necessary lah kan. If you go down, how you can achieve Dean list with all of these challenges. So you cascade down your plan. Okay. Tapi kalau you tak ada target lagi, it's okay juga. Tak apa. You can do bottom up. Apa yang you boleh buat sekarang? Apa yang you rasa boleh score A? Apa yang you rasa boleh dapat B? Apa yang you rasa macam just enough to survive? You know, we plan that. Subjek ni nampak macam killer sangat lah, nak push sangat pun, I cannot go that far. So, but this one really, I know, if I just push a little bit, I can score an A. So, you control daripada bawah sampai finally, you dapat grade yang you want. So, either way, it's okay as long as you start to have that small goals, which is I lebih suka small goals as compared to benda yang macam 20 tahun akan datang, 30 tahun akan datang. That is too far. Okay, alright, next. Okay, boleh harapnya masing-masing okay lah kan, tak serius sangat kot presentation saya kan. Okay. Alright, so now we move to commitments. This is where the part we need to really assess our commitments. Commitments meaning to say that sometimes setiap pagi, setiap hari when we woke up in the morning, what are the things that came across to our mind? Okay, assignment dah siap ke belum? Nak tolong mak ke tak nak? Nak mandi ke tak? What else? Ada kelas pukul 8 ke tak? Should I attend the class or not? So all of these questions mungkin to some of us is a racing thoughts. Hari-hari bangun pagi itulah benda yang difikirkan. Some of us, alhamdulillah, woke up in the morning feeling very pleased and normal and tenang-tenang je. That's alhamdulillah. But some people, they have these racing thoughts. Bangun pagi, kadang-kadang bangun pagi pun terkejut. Macam, oh my god, I haven't finished my assignment. Oh my god, macam tu kan. Bangun pagi dah terkejut. So, we need to reassess our commitment in the sense that we need to identify. Okay, this is yang saya nak share. The simple one. Some group of people, they love to make timetable. Okay, hari Isnin sampai hari Ahad, pukul 6 pagi sampai pukul 12:30 malam, apa benda yang dia buat. That is one group of people. Another group of people perhaps, another group of people ni sama gang dengan I, which is I boleh migraine tengok timetable. Okay, I'm not into a timetable, a very detailed timetable, but since that, I found this method which really helpful, I believe, for me also, to differentiate my commitments, whether my commitments tu berbaloi atau dia sekadar membazir masa. Ini kena ingat sebab you dalam perjalanan tadi, sebab kadang-kadang okay, I discuss first about this. Now, there are 4 quadrants kat sini. The first quadrant is the things that are important and urgent. And then the second quadrant, important but not urgent. The third quadrant is important and not important, not urgent. Sorry, another typo here. Okay, not important and bukan, salah. Saya pun dah silap kat sini. Not important but urgent sebab dia dalam quadrant kat sini. And this one is not important and not urgent. So how to use this quadrant? Contohnya, contoh. Kita ada favorite K-drama. Okay, I'm not against K-drama. Okay, but then if your K-drama banyak sangat kat sini, you know that is not important and also not urgent. You can postpone it a little bit. You can letak di tepi sekejap if you have assignments or you have another thing to do. Okay, it might falls into this one. Okay, if you notice that a lot of your commitments ada dekat sini. Contoh, I bagi contoh no offense. Kadang-kadang kita tengok anime, kadang-kadang kita main game, kadang-kadang kita layan kawan membawang kadang-kadang, okay. Some it can be urgent kat sini. Kawan-kawan memang memberikan curhat, dia perlukan kita pada ketika itu. Perhaps on that time it's not important but it's urgent, so we need to listen, because if you not listen to them, they might do something that hurt themselves, right? It is an urgent matter. Okay, tapi pada ketika tu you memang ada quiz pula. So you kena bahagikan macam mana. Alright. And if you found your commitments more to this part, you kena tengok-tengok balik sebab mungkin you rasa tak ada masa tapi sebenarnya masa tu diberikan kepada perkara-perkara yang tak penting dan juga tak urgent. Right? If there are too many on this part also, you need to look at your commitments because banyak sangat kerja yang ad hoc. Okay, tengah-tengah benda yang kita tengah buat-buat ni tiba-tiba kawan ajak, jom kita lepak dekat kafe Safiah. Jom. Padahal ni nak kena study untuk quiz because you know that if you don't study you will feel anxious, right? Tapi bila kawan datang tu tadi macam jom. So you need to look at your commitments back kat mana. Alright. Same goes to important not urgent or important and urgent. If too much this part, I know MRC banyak kerja, BRC pun banyak kerja, and those people who are active also banyak kerja. If too much on this side, I encourage you to learn how to negotiate the work, how to delegate your work, because sometimes sama ada you tak percaya orang lain buat kerja tu ataupun you lah yang paling dipercayai sahaja untuk buat kerja tu. So need to learn on how to delegate your tasks and negotiate. You have another, like for example, you have midterm coming up, but another commitments in club or extracurricular activities, can you negotiate so that you can focus on your midterm first? Inilah kepentingan kenapa kita buat benda ni, so we can reassess our commitments. No, stress and treasure tu sajalah saya nak bagi catchy kan, tapi sebenarnya kita nak tengok balik sama ada komitmen-komitmen yang kita ambil tu, is it really belong to us? Sometimes in our life, we take other people commitments into our life. Kadang-kadang kawan ni dia, saya bagi contoh simple contoh sama macam last week, right? Kawan ni dia ada pasangan. So dia ada pasangan, dia lah yang nak pergi dating, dia nak pergi tu. Lepas tu dia bawa kita sebab tak baik berdua kan. So we kind of chaperone. Kita teman dia. So jadi perhubungan dia tu dah jadi a part of our commitment as well because we have to teman our friends. Now, bukan saya kata tak bagus, tapi you kena decide sekarang whether that is your commitment or that is your friend's commitment. Kena fikir-fikirkan, jangan ambil banyak sangat perkara-perkara yang bukan sebenarnya milik kita ataupun urusan kita yang menyebabkan kita overwhelmed, yang menyebabkan kita rasa macam banyaknya benda nak kena fikir. So kita kena bahagikan our brain to really focus on apa sebenarnya isu yang menyebabkan kita rasa overwhelmed, and it leads to difficulties to manage our emotion as well as to manage ourselves, right? Saya dah nak habis. Banyak pula slide saya hari ni. Okay, tapi I go very fast, right? And this is the communication is the key when there is no need to shout. Ini paling penting. Now we come to the managing expectation from society and parents. Parents atau saya tambah juga lecturers these people, they cannot read our mind. They do not know our situation. They do not know our struggle. So the rule of the thumb is to always communicate. It's always to try your best to deliver or to relay what is your difficulties. Jangan ghost you punya lecturer. I always cakap ni, jangan ghost your lecturer, jangan ghost your parents, jangan ghost whoever lah. Don't ghost people. Faham kan ghost kan? Budak-budak term sekarang kan? Don't leave people hanging. Don't go MIA. Sebab sometimes these people will not have the same perspective as you. Dia tak tahu. Dia anggap expectation yang macam saya cakap tadi awal-awal kan, expectation versus reality. What they perceive is everything is just normal. Okay, but the reality is you are struggling. You have limited internet connectivity. You have limited access to good gadgets, for example, a good laptop or good phone, for example. So there's a lot of things, and also perhaps that you have a very challenging house environment, a very abusive house environment. So these are the things that your lecturers or outsiders do not know. Not to say that you have to like flex about it, not to say that you have to, you know, tell everyone about your story. No, not that too. But again, that's why number one is to know your target. If you want to negotiate with your mother or your father about household, for example, you tahu kat mana nak cakap. You nak cakap dengan ayah ke nak cakap dengan mak, macam mana ni? Okay, kalau mak ni orangnya macam mana? Kalau ayah ni orangnya macam mana? Kat mana dia punya weak point? So we need to get to know our target dulu. Okay, and then be certain of your point. Apa yang you nak deliver? You nak negotiate tentang household, house chores, atau dengan lecturer you nak negotiate tentang assignment, group assignment, for example. Sebab you punya group member semuanya free rider, semua tak nak buat kerja kan. So your point is you want to discuss about this matter to your lecturer so that everyone is accountable of the assignment, not only you. Okay. And then the third one, if you start to communicate, you mesti kena ada the side to be to compromise. Apakah perkara yang you boleh compromise kan? Apa perkara yang you say that no, this part tak boleh compromise. Contoh, ada situasi di mana a certain situation, I memang kena tidur 8 jam. Contoh, you tak boleh compromise on that. Tapi some of the group discussion tengah-tengah malam, kawan-kawan kan, kawan-kawan mungkin kerja ke apa ke, so tengah malam je free, so tengah malam baru nak discuss group assignment. So this create tension to you, this create stress to you. Adakah you willing to compromise? If you're not willing to compromise, apakah suggestion the better time to have that discussion? Okay, because we want to have a win-win situation. You untung, your parents untung. Your lecturer untung, you pun untung. Sama-sama. Sebab kita semua terkesan dengan pandemik ni. Kita semua terkesan dengan COVID ni. It's just that you might be affected in different way than I am. But it doesn't mean that I am not affected as well. So kita kena cari win-win situation. And finally, if none of the above working, kena guna mediator. Hence datang counselor, hence datang academic advisor, hence datang bantuan daripada principal, fellow dan sebagainya. So orang-orang ni adalah orang-orang yang boleh memberikan you punya sokongan kepada keadaan you. So reach out to these people. So they can be your mediator. Alright. Okay, ada nak beda ni? Okay. Now, apa lagi? Okay. Okay, yang ni I stop sharing sebab you kena dengar I cakap dan I kena tengok you. Okay. Yes. Okay. So ada banyak soalan dah dekat chat box. So tak apa. Nanti saya akan jawab kat situ. Saya nak habiskan sikit je lagi. This is a part where a simple activity, mindful activity. Mindfulness. So I ada 2. Alright, so kat sini siapa yang willing untuk buka diorang punya kamera selain daripada Aisyah? So kita nak buat sama-sama. Macam kalau if you follow di live IG last time, saya buat colouring. So dengan MC waktu tu kita buat colouring kan, expressive art. So kali ni kita nak buat mindfulness. So ada sesiapa yang nak join saya yang boleh nak buka dia punya kamera? Tak apa, jangan malu. Kalau tak nanti saya dengan Aisyah lah. Boleh Aisyah?
Siapa yang nak buka kamera boleh buka. Kita sama-sama buat aktiviti.
Aisyah dah seram dah. Aisyah dah anxious. Apa lah Kak Mas nak kena buat ni kan? Ada? Tak ada? Kalau tak. Yes, Alhamdulillah. Situ more. Salsabila dengan Nurul apa nama? Yang tak nampak penuh pula nama tu. Nurul Hanan. Hanan. Nurul Hanan. And then kita ada brother apa nama brother? Tak nampak penuh pula. Alhamdulillah. Yeay! Brother baju biru. Nama siapa?
Muhammad Fazril.
Okay, brother yang pakai cermin mata. Oh, datang ke kopiah dah. Okay, pakai balik. Okay. Alah Hakim. Sorry. Siapa yang pakai cermin mata tu? Brother apa? Nama?
Hafiz.
Okay. Oh, alright. Thank you.
Tak buka mic ni.
Dah tak buka mic. Oh, Mahallah Aminah ni kita punya MC last week Najihah. Alright, kita ada Brother Hafizul Kapli, betul? Betul
Betul.
Okay, alright. So very good, nice. Kita akan buat dulu role play supaya masing-masing segar sekejap sebelum saya ambil masa nak jawab soalan penuh dekat chat box tu. Okay, kita akan buat 2 simple activities for mindfulness. Okay, number 1, it's very important untuk kita ataupun kita practice deep breathing. Okay, deep breathing ni, kita ada seorang lagi. Nur Najhan. Okay, pakai kelekor. Alhamdulillah, calon-calon ni. Okay, baik. Deep breathing, bila kita tanya, okay, what do you know? Okay, saya tanyalah sekarang what do you understand with deep breathing? You tahu deep breathing macam mana? Yang tak buka kamera boleh jawab kat chat box. Agak-agaklah kita bagi quiz sekejap. Tak ada hadiah minta dekat Mahallah Aminah. Saya bagi je. Okay, so deep. Yes, correct. Muhammad Daniel, jawapan memang on point. Feel the air in stomach, not the chest. Betul? So, untuk buat deep breathing, kadang-kadang deep breathing kan kita tanya, macam mana you buat deep breathing? Macam tu. Tarik nafas lah panjang-panjang. Tarik nafas panjang je. Okay. No, the correct way is, kita ada letakkan satu tangan you dekat dada, satu tangan lagi dekat perut. Okay. Nampak mungkin yang letak kat dada je lah kan. Ada kawan sebelah nak join sekali. Boleh. Okay. Satu tangan dekat dada, satu tangan dekat perut. Alright. So you listen to my voice. Make sure that bila saya kata tarik nafas tu, perut you yang expand. Not your chest yang expand Kita try Okay. Dia the rules is 4-3-4, which is inhale dalam kiraan 4, lepas tu tahan dalam kiraan 3 dan lepaskan dalam kiraan 4 juga. Okay? Boleh kita try insyaAllah. So on my count. Okay. Now everyone in a relaxed position. Okay. Take your breath. Tarik nafas dalam kiraan 1, 2, 3. You're doing great. Tahan. Lepas. 4, 3, 2, 1. Very good. Kita cuba sekali lagi. Tarik nafas. 1, 2, 3. Pause. 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 Lepas. 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. Kita buat 2 kali lah cukup banyak-banyak kali kan susah pula. Okay. Do you feel any different? Ada tak sesiapa rasa sakit Ayo. Sakit. Sakit dekat dada. Ada sesiapa tak rasa sakit? Dia rasa macam tak selesa dekat dada dia. Tak ada. Tak ada, bagus maksudnya.
Kawan saya rasa.
Okay. Kawan you rasa? Ada. Fazil pun ada. Tak ada, Alhamdulillah. Yang ada tu, saya akan tanya soalan further. Ada tak ada sakit asma ke? Ada kerap batuk ke? Ada ke? Sebab apa yang berlaku?
Tak ada.
Kalau tak ada? Ada, yes. Ada asma. Betul. Sebab apa? Sebab saya pun ada asma. So, orang-orang yang ada masalah pernafasan, sama ada dia kerap batuk, dia ada asma atau anything regarding dia punya lung, dia akan rasa sakit sikit bila mula-mula you cuba nak buat. Sebab apa? Bila perut kita yang expand, kita punya diafragma tu akan kembang ke bawah and more oxygen being absorbed as compared to kita buat halfway. Halfway tu dekat dada je kita kembang. Macam, okay, tarik nafas yang biasa-biasa tu kat dada je kan. So, itu sebenarnya shortcut je kalau you tarik nafas yang bukan perut you yang kembang. So bila perut you yang expand, more oxygen actually being absorbed. So kalau you tak biasa buat, memang paru-paru you atau you punya chest tu akan rasa sakit sikit sebab dia macam terkejut. Banyaknya oksigen. Macam tu. Dia terkejut, jadi dia akan rasa sakit sikit, but you need to practice it because it's very good. Sebab kalau you tengok baby bernafas pun, dia punya perut yang naik, bukan dia punya dada. So that is actually the correct way untuk kita bernafas. Dan kalau you perasan, kalau you ada orang yang ada menghadapi anxiety, you perasan makin you rasa anxious, nafas you makin laju. Now, bila nafas you makin laju, dia bukannya bring more oxygen. You je yang penat. Sebab cara bernafas tu salah. Sebab bila you bernafas laju, dia semuanya shortcut kat dada je. Kan you macam macam tu. So dia bukannya bring more oxygen tapi dia memenatkan you. Sebab tu lepas tu bila you dah relax sikit kan, you dah tenang, you rasa macam baru lepas lari pecut 10 meter. 10 meter, 100 meter. 10 meter dekat sangat. 100 meter. Tiba-tiba you rasa macam aku berlari ke tadi? Tak, sebenarnya it's because you punya dada tu laju, pump laju tapi oksigen tak cukup banyak. One of the reason lah among of other reason yang lain. Okay? So practice kan, minimum buat 7 cycle. 4-3-4 tu buat 7 kali. Practice terbaiknya bangun pagi atau sebelum tidur. Okay, bangun pagi kalau you memang jenis ada perasaan yang macam saya cakap tadi, racing thoughts. Bangun pagi je terkejut, bangun pagi je ada banyak benda serabut dalam kepala you. So bangun pagi, kalau you nak baca doa bangun pagi, kalau you dah hafal apa semua tu, silakan, tu pun tak ada masalah, bacalah doa-doa tu. Lepas tu bangun, duduk dulu, buat deep breathing 7 kali dulu. Barulah you continue dengan you punya activities. You kena allocate, you kena paksa diri. Tak ada siapa nak bagi you masa tu. You yang kena paksa diri you untuk buat benda tu. Okay? Now, Alhamdulillah, thank you. So kita ada second one. Second one is also very simple one tapi sangat practical. Saya pun guna juga. Dan saya dalam sharing saya banyak yang saya sharekan these simple tips. Okay, yang ni saya mungkin okay, sekejap. Nak tunjuk ke tak nak tunjuk? Sekejap. Tak payahlah, saya tak payah tunjuk. Nanti saya emailkan slide ni dekat organizer. So organizer can give you guys lah the slide Okay, so aktiviti yang kedua ni, kita kan dalam kita, bila kita ada perasaan yang overwhelming, sama ada it is anxiety ke atau apa-apa, usually what will happen is that we are not connected with our reality. Kita serabut kan, banyak benda yang kita fikir. So apatah lagi kalau kita ada anxiety atau perasaan anxious tu, there's so many thoughts yang datang. So kita sampai kita tak sedar kita buat apa. Sometimes we can even harm ourselves because we are not really mindful of our environment and ourselves. Kita boleh bahayakan diri kita. So dalam keadaan ini, okay, kita buat sama-sama Saya akan tanya siapa yang buka kamera ni, ada 4 orang. Ada 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ada 5 orang termasuk Aisyah. Okay. Now the first one, okay. Please acknowledge 5 things that you can see around you. Yang tak ada kamera boleh tulis dekat chat box. Acknowledge 5 things that you can see around you. Kena bagi tahu, kena sebut 5 benda. Mungkin boleh mula dengan, siapa nak mula dulu? Mana-mana, siapa-siapa. Yang lain tu boleh komen kat chat box. Aktiviti ni memang kena sebut. Kalau you buat seorang-seorang pun you kena sebut. Macam kan, contoh saya cakap, apa 5 benda yang saya boleh nampak dekat sekeliling saya? Saya boleh nampak laptop, saya boleh nampak botol air, saya boleh nampak sejadah, saya boleh nampak telekung, saya boleh nampak you guys. 5 benda. So korang share, apa yang korang boleh nampak? Okay, daripada Adawiyah, laptop, handphone, pen, kertas, mini fan. Alhamdulillah, bagus. Lain? Bottle, cup, scissors, laptop, mousepad. Okay, very good. Laptop, phone, earphone, mouse, Lexus speaker. Oh, sedapnya Lexus speaker. Okay. And then sibling, my laptop, telekung, my bag, coffee. Awesome. That's good. Ini semua yang kat chat box. Yang buka kamera ni mana?
Saya nampak laptop, handphone, pen, kertas dengan meja.
Okay, Aisyah. Okay, tadi Aisyah. Sekarang Salsabila. Tadi overlapping suara you. Salsabila.
Laptop, mouse, highlighter, buku, earphone.
Earphone. Okay, it's good. Okay, kita laju sikit. Brother Faiz. Apa tadi? Allah. Faris ke Faiz? Dulu salah nama saya sebut. Yang baju biru.
Fazrin.
Biru. Fazrin. Oh, salah dulu saya sebut. Sorry. Okay, apa yang boleh nampak? Yang lain mungkin aktiviti lain.
Notebook,
Okay.
data peluk,
Oh, okay.
telefon,
Telefon.
dengan laptop, dengan botol air.
Yang betul. Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Alright. Okay. Kat sini pun kat chatbox pun ada book, laptop, mouse, pillow, botol, handphone, laptop, katil, water botol, selimut. Masing-masing semua tengok atas katil ke time ni. Laptop, pen, buku, kerusi, meja, kopi. Okay, alhamdulillah. Now we move on to the second one. So second one yang mana saya tak panggil kamera buka ni, sekejap lagi korang pula Okay, number 2 is okay, acknowledge four things that you can touch. 4 benda yang awak boleh pegang. Okay, Hani.
Mikari, meja,
Mikari, meja.
kipas. Mikari ni. Kipas. Tu meja, kipas and then rak.
Rak, okay. 4 benda yang Hani boleh pegang. Okay, kita nak pergi kepada Hanan. 4 benda yang Hanan boleh pegang, Hanan.
Bantal,
meja,
katil, ais mayang.
Ada macam you guys kan muda-muda, saya ni dah 3 series, korang baru 2 series kan. So there's a lot of future for you. Ada banyak benda lagi yang you boleh explore. Jadi kena fokus juga kepada internal motivation. Okay, kalau tak boleh keluar rumah sebabkan situation sekarang, pandemik dan sebagainya, apa aktiviti yang you boleh buat dalam rumah yang you seronok. Kadang-kadang I pernah juga share like if you don't have your personal space at home, create your personal space in your mind. How to be happy with just you at dalam rumah tu. How to be happy even though that there's no one supporting you. Macam tu lah. Kita kena ada that mental space juga untuk kita buat. Alright. Kalau paling bosan-bosan, beli Lego, main board games. Saya kalau awak buat sesi dengan saya yang saya gunakan expressive art atau play therapy, saya bagi awak Lego, mainlah Lego tu puas-puas. Okay. Yang lain sekejap I think the workload is too many online lecturers should consider lesson workload. Betul. Yang daripada Hakim ni, Hakim try to communicate with your lecturers. I believe your lecturers also willing to be understanding. Kalau semua satu kelas tu memang rasa benda tu burden atau you boleh gang out dengan your friends, your group, sama-sama approach, communicate dengan cara yang saya share tadi tu, insyaAllah. Okay, daripada Adawiyah, I rasa tadi berkenaan dengan jadual divide commitments, bila nak buat, it depends on you. Daily boleh buat, weekly boleh buat, monthly boleh buat. Apa sahaja yang you rasa bersesuaian, you boleh letak. Sebab dia tak ada time frame. Dia hanya, dia nak throwkan apa komitmen you yang paling segera, paling tak segera, penting atau tak penting. Macam tu. Okay, I rasa itu je soalan yang ada. Yang combination yang mana ya? Daripada Yusof. Combination apa tu? Berarti okay.
Visual and kinesthetic.
Visual and kinesthetic. Sebab tu itulah nanti saya buat satu webinar lain untuk spesifik untuk learning style, insyaAllah. You can read further on that sebab kinesthetic ni dia special sikit. So kalau saya nak explain nanti takut sampai pukul 11 malam. Okay. Tapi itulah the keyword dia kinesthetic ni. Kalau you ada bilik, you nampak tak belakang I ni serabut kan? Belakang I serabut, lepas tu you ada nampak macam ada apa benda lah ni. Dream catcher ni gerak-gerak kalau bila kena angin. You jangan buat benda tu ada dekat dalam bilik you. Sebab nanti daripada you belajar, duduk sibuk je tengok dream catcher tu gerak-gerak. So orang yang kinesthetic they are easily distracted. So sehabis baik kalau tu jauhkan diri daripada distraction yang bergerak-gerak. Nanti you akan terfokus kat situ instead. Even pokok pun, you akan tengok daun tu bergerak. Bukannya you tengok you punya textbook. Okay, Itu je. Tapi insyaAllah saya akan buat satu sharing untuk tu dan saya akan ni lah panjang sikit elaboration on that one. InsyaAllah doakan saya ya. Okay.
InsyaAllah.
Kita dah pukul 10 dah pun.
Okay.
Ni minta maaf sangat.
Okay, so thank you very much. Finally, we have come to the end of the session. We would like to thanks again for Sister Masturah for the informative and interesting talk, and to the participant, thank you for your participation. You can share this knowledge that you gain for this talk with your friend and your family and others. So lastly, sorry for any inconvenience from our behalf, and hopefully this session will be beneficial for everybody. Thank you for joining, and lastly, may Allah bless us all, and also may Allah protect us from this COVID, insyaAllah. Thank you very much everyone for your attention. Have a good evening. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, sekejap je. Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Tapi sekejap je. Saya tak pasti korang nampak ke dekat saya punya phone ni. Can you see? Sekejap sebab saya nak share apps ni.
Wow.
Okay. Apps ni, nama dia adalah apa ke nama dia? Wait dah. Dia ada nanti mungkin saya tag Mahallah Aminah punya IG, because this app I found it in Google Play. Saya tak pasti kalau iPhone ada ke tak, tapi sebab saya guna Android kan, so dalam Google Play ada. This apps is very nice. Saya download dan dia ada macam tadi kita cerita tentang breathing kan. Dia ada features for breathing di mana kalau you tekan dia akan control you punya, dia akan guide you for your breathing. Bila nak tarik nafas, bila nak pause, bila nak hembus. So dia adalah self-assisted punya apps which is very good for anxiety. Dia memang untuk anxiety. Apa nama dia I'm not sure yet. Tak ingat. Dah download tak keluar pula nama dia. My Journey or something. Tak apalah, nanti saya akan tag dekat IG Mahallah Aminah, insyaAllah. Okay? Okay, tu je. Sorry. Okay, panic attack and anxiety relief. Sekejap, saya tulis kat sini. ROOPD. Panic attack and anxiety relief. Okay, so boleh tengok dekat Google Play Store for Android, for iPhone I'm not sure, boleh cari yang ni. It's very good, it's very nice, simple je. Okay, itu je lah last. Okay, itu je. Assalamualaikum.
Okay, to participant boleh register dulu tak kalau tak register lagi. Ada link register dekat chat box.
Thank you.
Thank you Kak Mas.
Okay. Welcome.
Thank you, sister.
Assalamualaikum. Bye.
Sister.
Thank you so much everyone.
Have a good guys.
Assalamualaikum.
Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi.
Thank you.